And next up, we are going to go over part 2, which is push-ups, and we're going to go over 4 variations of the push-ups here. All right, here is push-up extraordinaire, Coach Emily, talking about push-ups.
All right, so push-ups, another movement that a lot of your athletes have, probably not in frame, a lot of your athletes have probably seen before, maybe done some before, so probably familiar with it. We just want to make sure that they are going to be executing them to our standards. The way that we like to do push-ups here, I'll just preface with this, is we want elbows tucked in. Like that's the shape that we're going to aim for no matter what version of the push-up that we're doing. We always want to think about elbows tucked in. Now, the first one we're going to look at is the stall bar push-up. The same stall bar that we used for that pull-up variation, we can lower it and use it for push-ups. And just to show you like the other tools we can use, this is the barbell variation of it. So again, if you have an athlete that's maybe a little bit heavier, or maybe they just have a barbell out for the day, they can throw it into the rack like this and use it for pull-ups or for push-ups. Now with the stall bar push-up, essentially what we're doing is an incline push-up. So we're going to have our hands on the bar and then performing our push-ups to the bar. This could be done also with a box or with a bench or even on the wall, just different ways to set up an incline push-up. At the end of the day, the higher your hands are, the easier the push-up is going to be because the less of your body weight you're supporting. The lower this bar goes towards the floor, the more or the closer it's going to replicate kind of an unassisted push-up, and so the harder it'll be. So we're going to start hip height. Again, depending on your athlete, you might want to start it higher or lower. When we set up for this push-up, you always want to make sure that the bar is going into the rack. If I'm on this side and I'm doing my push-ups out this way, it's very possible that this bar could hop out of the J-hooks. We don't want that. So make sure you're facing in towards the rack so that the bar is supported against the posts here. Now, as far as hand distance, they have a little bit of wiggle room with this. Typically, we like to go right under your shoulders, maybe a hair outside your shoulders. We don't want to go too wide like this. That's going to invite some elbow flaring, which is when your elbows kind of spin up and your shoulders roll in. We want to think about elbows tucked back. So I'm going to grab the bar. I'm going to step my feet back. I'm going to turn my elbow pits so that they're facing forward. And that way when I go down, my elbows are pointing behind me and close to my body. Now when I do these stall bar push-ups, I want to try to get my sternum to touch the bar and then press back out. So you may need to adjust where their feet are. If they're too close, they're going to get like belly contact. If they're too far back, they're going to hit like their kind of collarbone on the bar. We want to aim right for the center of their chest, or right on that sternum, elbows tucked back, up on the balls of their feet as well. And this is our stall bar push-up. Body is nice and flat. I'm not sagging my hips down or sending my butt up really high. So you can walk around them, you can have a look, you can make sure they're doing this in proper form. But that is the stall bar or the incline version of the push-up. Typically, the athletes will have lots of success with this. So you can challenge them by dropping the bar lower and kind of seeing where their threshold is. If that's too easy and they want to make it harder, we can progress to, is it the mini band one that's next, or is it the knee push-up that's next?
I believe it's kneeling.
Kneeling, okay. So the kneeling push-up is a quick way to regress a full push-up in a workout if someone needs a break from the full push-ups. If your athlete needs to do knee push-ups instead because they don't quite have the strength for the full push-ups, I try to steer them in the direction of a stall bar push-up or a banded push-up, just because it allows you to stay in that fully extended position rather than cutting your lever in half and bending your knees. So I try to direct them towards this choice. This does take more setup though, so I understand if like they start a workout with a full push-up and they just want to drop to their knees kind of halfway through, that's fine, as long as they're doing the same form. So for your knee push-up, again, we want those elbows tucked back. I don't have my hips sagging through, and I don't have my butt up high. Everything is nice and flat. Now that my hands are spread out on the floor and not grabbing onto a bar, I'm actually going to turn my fingers out a little bit to the corners. If I have my fingers facing forward or even in like this, that's really going to flare the elbows. You can see my elbows going out to the sides, and that is going to invite a little bit of shoulder injury. I'll show you again here. That'll invite some shoulder injury in the future. So I'm going to turn my fingers out just a little bit to the corners. That's going to turn my elbow pits forward. And that's going to allow me to stay nice and tucked in when I do these reps. If they can, we're getting chest to touch the floor each time. And if their body is nice and flat, then their thighs should be touching the floor as well as they go down and up. So that is a fine option. But again, the lever is cut in half. So if we can, we go for kind of one of these options instead. Now the next one we're going to look at, a little bit of a step up, is going to be a mini band push-up. So over on this wall, also in the back by the PT section, we have racks of little mini bands, usually pretty close to the big bands. These are mini bands here. They're just like the big bands, but they're smaller. And they're going to go around the elbows. So you can grab a couple different thicknesses for your athlete depending on what you kind of want to work with. I think the yellow one's probably the thinnest, and I think the red one is the thickest maybe.
Yeah.
They've got little circles on them so you can look at the difficulty level in that way. I'm going to grab a blue one. So mini band. Mini band is going to go around, oh my goodness, around your elbows like this. And this is going to help them do their push-ups in two ways. So the first way it's going to help is, as you can maybe guess, it's going to force your elbows to stay in because you can see my elbows are being forced nice and close here. So when I do my push-up reps, elbows are going to be staying in automatically, which is very nice. The other way this is going to help is because it's around the elbows, it's going to be hitting right around my chest, and it's going to give me like a little trampoline out of the bottom. Very similar to the hanging band pull-ups that we did. It just gives you a little bit of help from the bottom of the rep. So elbows are in the band. I'm going to come down to the floor, hands at my usual distance apart, fingers turned out a little bit to the corners, elbow pits forward. They can try this from the knees first if they want to, or they can go right to their toes. We go down, and we go up. And this band is going to help keep those elbows in, and it gives that little bounce out of the bottom. I find when I do the mini band push-ups, I can't quite get my chest to touch the floor, which is fine. But yeah, this is a really great option. And as I said, different strengths of the band too. They can go thicker or they can go thinner, and they can progress towards kind of an unassisted push-up, which of course would be the last variation, would be no assistance at all. Yeah, all good?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Can we see a set of 20 regular unassisted push-ups?
No.